are going to be talking about how you can facilitate your child's development by building their sense of self-worth and developing them, or helping them to develop to their fullest potential. So when we talk about self-worth, you may not be as familiar with that term as you may be with self-esteem. These terms are often used interchangeably, and so I will use them interchangeably for this presentation. Self-worth and self-esteem can be defined as feeling capable while also feeling loved. One thing I want to point out, one of the handouts has places where you can follow and you can actually fill in as we go along. So one of them that's stapled, it has the, it has the title of the presentation on the front. That way you can follow along and take notes and fill in the blanks. Okay, so when we talk about self-worth, we talk about, or we think about what someone feels or how they think about themselves. It is the experience of being competent to cope with the challenges that we are going to be faced with. A child can be happy because they have achieved something, but if they don't feel loved, then they're still not likely to completely feel very good about themselves. On the other end, a child can actually feel loved, but if they don't have a sense that they can do something, if they haven't mastered something, then they can still not be complete as it relates to how they feel about themselves and their self-esteem. And so that's why when we talk about self-esteem, I want you to remember the two components. Remember that it's not only about feeling loved or loving yourself, it's also about having or feeling that you are capable, that you have an ability to do something. Now, much of our child's identity, or your child's identity, in fact, when we talk to you, much of your identity as a parent falls to this. How much love do you receive, or how loved do you receive, and how capable do you feel? And so when we talk about our children, it's going to be impacted by the relationships, and the most important relationship we know would have been the parental relationship, which they would have been engaged in from their birth. And so you, as parents, are going to have the fundamental responsibility to help shape your children. Now there's a quote up there from Dr. May, and it says, "It is out of the child's key, significant, and fundamental attachments that so much of their identity is formed." And so it is very important for you as parents to recognize that it is your relationship with them from they were born, and you nurtured them and you bonded with them, that this is the beginning of the forming of who they think they are, how they see themselves, and whether they see themselves as having value or having worth. And so when we talk about how they see themselves, we have this picture here, and this kid is getting ready to go in the pool, and he's feeling all proud of himself. He has a towel tied around like a cape. I don't know how many of you have ever felt like you were Superman or Superwoman because something that you did, you were able to achieve something, or maybe you felt so loved that you just felt like you were on top of the world and you could do anything. That is the feeling that we want our kids to have. That's the feelings that you should be nurturing in your children. And as we go through the presentation, I will tell you how you nurture those feelings. But when you think about self-esteem, I want you to imagine yourself with your super cape on so that you are functioning at your best. And then I also want you to think about your children with their super cape on so that they are functioning at their best. That means you should also know what it is that they do well. What are the things that make them happy? What are the things that make them loved? How do they feel loved? All of these things helps keep that cape on and keep that hand to their kipper and that smile on their face and them feeling like they are able to take on the world. So when we talk about high self-esteem, it's a term that we use all the time. We like to judge people. You look at somebody and you're like, oh, she dressed like that, her self-esteem gotta be low. Oh, she's still with that man, her self-esteem gotta be low. Oh, he doing this, he smell bad, he don't take care of himself, his self-esteem may be low. So what exactly is high and low self-esteem? So when we talk about high self-esteem is being confident, happy, and sure of oneself. It is also being highly motivated, and also it's having the right attitude. So if you have a poor attitude, but yet you think highly of yourself, then it's still not quite high self-esteem, because a part of self-esteem, a part